Alright, quick review of the Exagram Pro from Wacaco. It's a coffee scale for pour overs and espresso. It comes in a small little box. Here's some brief stats. You take a look at it, pause the video. Alright, so it comes with some foam. You have a brief instruction guide that's, I think, very helpful. This is for pour overs, and this is for espresso. Put that aside. Manual. Wish it came with QR code, because that's pretty thick, bully. The case itself, very subtle, tiny, neat. You can open with one hand. There's the scale. And they say that you can kind of use it to elevate it if you were to put on an espresso machine. And also comes with a USB-C cable, which is nice to have in 2024. Alright, so let's get to the scale. The scale itself comes with this nice silicone pad. It says Wacaco, very subtle branding in these grooves. These grooves actually have a purpose. So for instance, the screen is right here, and if you were to drag something, like I'm dragging this cup against it, it's not going to drag the scale down and block the view. It will move horizontally though, but I think that's a nice touch. As for the scale itself, it comes with a USB-C port in the top right. Please note that this is a slow charging one, not like a USB-C charger that comes with your cable. And this scale does not come with a plug, so please note that. So it's technically exposed. On the right side, you have two switches. You have your off, your mute, sound on, and for the modes, you have normal, aka manual mode, P for pour over, and E for espresso mode. As well as it comes with nice rubber feet to not scratch your appliance. And for those with espresso machines that have your steam on the right side, which is for most of you guys, Wacaco does not publish their water rating for the scale, so these buttons have a higher likelihood of being exposed. I've seen other scales purposely shift their charging cable as well as any buttons to the left side, as it reduces the likelihood of water getting into your scale. But it is worth noting that Wacaco does have a 2-year warranty for the scale, so that's nice to have compared to other scales like the Me Coffee. I believe it was only a 1-year warranty. Alright, so let's turn on the scale, switch it on. Alright, so there are two primary buttons. So you have your tare, and then you have your clock, as well as you can see the units in grams, as well as what mode you're in, and the time, as well as battery indicator, and if you're in the sound on or off. So to cycle through the modes, how you know is you flip the switch, and it'll change to P for pour over and E for espresso. Going back to normal. To cycle through the measuring modes, you double tap tare, milliliters, ounces, back to grams. And do note, when you do cycle through the sound on to mute, it does reset the scale. So for instance, say we had this on, and then we change it to mute, reset the scale. Alright, so, changing it back to sound on. And since we're in normal mode, everything's manual. If you want to tare, you have to click tare. 1 click to turn on the time, to start the timer. 1 click to pause it. Over 2 seconds to restart. Alright, so let's go from normal mode to pour over mode. So it's gonna only show weight because it's for you to weigh your coffee. See that quick. Boom. And what it's gonna do is it's gonna remember your 15 grams. So when you hit start, 3 loud beeps. And now what you can do is you can grind your coffee, do that jazz, and then put your coffee on the scale. Let's do that. It's gonna auto tare. Alright, so once it's zeroed out, what it's gonna show you on the right is ratio and time, and when you start pouring it, the clock is gonna start. It's gonna show you the ratio. And the first time you use the scale, you'll notice that this right here is gonna start counting down for 30 seconds, and you're gonna be like, that's really odd. That's because it's going off this 5 pour recipe that is kind of defaulted. And that's kind of annoying. So how you can get rid of that and show the current clock is you double tap the clock, and it's going to count upwards like a normal clock. And then once you lift it off, it's going to show you the grams as well as the ratio and how long it took. Another way to bypass that, or pretty much just have it so it goes to whatever measuring unit and the clock counting upwards, is let's restart it. Turn this off with the see. Let's measure our coffee again. Boom. It's gonna remember that. Start it. Alright, it's gonna tear our weight. Okay, so before you start brewing, what you can do is, you notice how there's no measuring units being shown? You double tap like before. Now it brings up grams. So when I start pouring, it will only count upwards, and you won't have to deal with any of that. So let's say you want to bloom, wait whatever seconds, and the clock's going to keep going. So you can brew normally, and then when you're done, lift it up, and it's going to show you the time, the weight. It won't show you the ratio, but I think most of you didn't know what you're doing. Alright, so let's go from pour over to espresso mode. Same thing, want you to weigh your coffee. You don't have to weigh it, but just optional. And then you just hit start. This is kind of relevant, it's just nice to have, because it's not going to show you your ratio for espresso. So hit start. Alright, and then put let's say you put your shot cup on. Auto tears. And what I have noticed is, with the espresso mode, it's only going to start weighing at 0.3, but let's say you pre-infuse your shot, so a little dribble comes out of your portafilter. You notice the clock starts, but let's say you're pre-infusing for a little longer, the clock already stopped. So let's say after pre-infusion is done, you want espresso to keep coming out, the clock is not going to continue. And not even clicking the clock once will resume it. Nor double clicking it, which is, I think, not ideal for espresso, because just because your pre-infusion comes out doesn't mean you want the clock to stop. So that is something to note with the espresso mode. I think for those that do brew espresso, you might be better off brewing in manual mode, which is frustrating, but it is what it is. And yeah. Alright, so what do I think of the Wacaco Exagram Pro Scale? For $50, it's definitely very nice. I'm coming from your generic huge kitchen scale that only weighs and doesn't even do decimals in the grams, so it's definitely a very nice package. Sleek, small, comes in with a nice case. I really do like the switches, because for instance on other scales you have to hold 2 buttons and it's a bit annoying. Sometimes you even have to click 5 to cycle through the settings, but on this one, just flick the switch and boom, you definitely know what you're doing, and it's super tactile. I would say the main competitor to the Wacaco Exagram is the Mi Coffee Nano. They are both 50 bucks and about the same size. The primary differences are the Mi Coffee comes in white color as well, and it has slightly larger battery at 800 milliamps versus 700 on the Wacaco. The Mi Coffee, however, has a max weight of 3 pounds, where the Wacaco is 4.4 or 2 kilograms. 4.4 pounds or 2 kilograms. A major downside of the Mi Coffee is that it only has a 1-year warranty, whereas the Wacaco has 2 years. But it only comes in white, slightly smaller battery. But I believe the Wacaco scale is better because Wacaco, they make the Pico Presso and other products, versus the Mi Coffee is just kind of a rebranded Chinese scale, although the Wacaco is made in China. But I think you have a better bet. If you're going to spend more money, you might as well get the 2-year warranty. I will say that the espresso feature might be a downside of this for those looking for espresso scale, although it has great dimensions. One of the issues is that, as you saw earlier in the video, that pre-infusion may prematurely stop the clock, which is what you might not want, so that might be a deal breaker for some of you.